Talking about this, a number first, I just want to get to my screen where I saw this picture of the president, President Samia Hassan, and it has her picture there, and the title is Record-Breaking Women, and it lists a number of firsts. Tell us what a big deal this is, so to speak.
It is indeed a big deal in the SADC region, on the continent, particularly the former frontline states, but also the Liberation Organization or Liberation Movement on the continent. She is the first female president in Tanzania, and currently she is the only woman president in the SADC region. We did have a woman president in Zambia some years ago, but currently she is the only woman president, head of state in the SADC region, but also the only woman who is the president or the head of state on the continent with executive powers. We know that in Ethiopia we have a woman president, but she is ceremonial. She doesn't have executive powers. Secondly, she was the first vice president, black woman vice president in Tanzania, and among the few vice presidents and former deputy presidents in the SADC region. South Africa had two, Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka breaking that record, and was followed by Baleka Mbete. Now also, she is the first female to lead a political party in government in the SADC region, Chama Cha Mapinduzi. And this is the first in terms of the liberation organizations to have a woman when the liberation organization is in government who is a president of the state or the country, but also the head of the party. Therefore, the question is, are we likely to see many women in the SADC region particularly pushing to submit when nominations are called for women names? Are we likely to see this happening with the ANC, the ruling party, the ZANU-PF, and many others?
Talk to us about how this party has changed over the years. C.C.M, founded back in the late 70s. The change that occurred to get to this point where they appoint President Hassan as the chairperson of the party. Take us through that journey.
Clearly, this party, since its inception, meant business. Or they told themselves that they are going to lead the transformation in the SADC region, irrespective of gender, color, creed. You know that perhaps we can single out Mwalimu Nyerere, who was very influential on the continent, but also very, very influential. Many South African politicians learned a lot from Mwalimu Nyerere, the former president of the Republic of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki. When he talks about Mwalimu Nyerere, you can understand the influence he had on many of those people who were in exile, who were in Tanzania in particular, and also Morogoro. Therefore, his influence set a tone for a party to be able to understand and be able to read the mood of the nation, but also transform itself in different stages. Right now, a call is women to take their rightful place in leadership positions in all spheres of government or sectors of society around the world. When countries such as South Africa are regressing, Tanzania is powering ahead. Here they are having this historic moment, and therefore one hopes that South Africa, because it always look at other fraternal parties in the region and on the continent, will take lessons from what Chama Cha Mapinduzi has done, but also look at what the United States of America has done, having a first female vice president of color. So these are some of the lessons that South Africa must learn, particularly a country that has modeled itself as a country that stands for human rights, and women's rights are human rights.
Talk to us about this historic moment in the context of how Tanzania has changed in a short period of time, or has it changed in a short period of time under the helm of President Hassan? What sort of difference has she made, especially with regards to the fight against COVID-19 in that country?
There is a lot of change. I mean, you'd recall that she was able to delegate her vice president to go to the summit in Mozambique to be part of the SADC region to discuss the current challenge in Cabo Delgado region, and made a commitment that Tanzania stands ready to support Mozambique. At the very same time, she was in Uganda meeting President Museveni, talking trade and investment and rekindling the trade and investment relations with the two countries, but also the political relations. And also back in Tanzania, she has taken steps of making changes in terms of how Tanzania is going to address the issue of COVID-19, appointing a task team that will look at the procurement of vaccines, but also encouraging people to observe the protocols. And when she visited Uganda, the whole team, not even a single person, was not wearing a mask. She was wearing a mask, and she led by example, which speaks to a different picture that we see now. But also, in terms of fighting corruption, you know that she was able to take steps in terms of cases that were reported, cases of corruption, by firing and suspending those who were fingered in acts of corruption. And therefore, I think she has asserted herself. And I think Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, the deputy, the director general of the UN Women, and also former deputy president of the Republic, summed it well when she said that she has been able to assert her authority.
To go, let's just pivot to another top story, international story, that of India and its handling of the COVID-19 situation. We're going to talk to or hear from our correspondent in India, Ishan Garg, in a little while. But tee it up for us, Sophie. What's the latest you're hearing on the ground there?
It is a crisis. It is a human catastrophe. It is a genocide. For me, what is shocking is the silence of the BRICS nations. The BRICS nations, you have Brazil and India facing serious challenges. Russia is currently the chair of BRICS. China is part of BRICS. South Africa is part of BRICS. 5 leaders of the BRICS countries. None of them is thinking of convening an urgent meeting to find a way to assist India. South-South cooperation. None of the South-South cooperation countries are trying to do something to call perhaps an urgent meeting of the non-aligned movement.
Yeah.
Even the UN itself and the WHO, what are they doing? We saw America yesterday announcing that they will impose travel restrictions from Tuesday. They have indicated that they will assist India. But not much is happening. And 2, a call by India and South Africa, a genuine call for mankind to be safe during this COVID-19, of doing away with patent laws on drugs and vaccines that are aimed at addressing the problem of COVID-19 at the WTO. What is the world doing? What are the powerful nations doing? Why the G7 doesn't support South Africa and India to ensure that the pharmaceutical companies do subscribe to the notion that patent laws and regulations will be waived, particularly on drugs, medicine, and vaccines that are aimed at addressing the COVID-19 until the pandemic is over. What is America doing? Therefore, it is quite disappointing that human beings can perish in front of the world watching, and the developed nations hoarding the vaccines for themselves and not even willing to share doses that they are not using, not even being able to assist, with oxygen, the PPE. We know that India is the most populous country. This was expected, and unfortunately, this variant in India, it is really, really ravaging the nation in India.
We know that there's a G7 summit coming up, and we know that South Africa has also been invited to that. There's been some calls from this part of the world, from several quarters, in fact, in order to ask the G7 nations to do more. We'll see what transpired. I think it's in June, if I'm not mistaken, that summit. Sophie Mokoena, as always, thank you very much indeed for your time. Our foreign editor there, Sophie Mokoena. Look,